I'm here in Beit El, and there's an incredible lookout over here where you can see quite a distance in all directions, especially on a clear day. They say on a clear day you can even see the Hermon. I've never seen it from here, but I have clearly seen Yerushalayim from here. You could see cities on the shore, though you can't see the Mediterranean itself. You could see all the way out to the Jordan on a clear day. Today it's a little bit more hazy, but we're going to focus even a little bit closer to us. Specifically a little bit to the northeast of us, we have Har Bal Chatzor, okay, the Bal Chatzor mountain, which is the highest point in this region, in this area. The Tanakh in Beit El. Avram comes through here a couple times. Yaakov Avinu comes through here a couple times. It's mentioned in Yehoshua. It's mentioned in Shmuel, in Melachim. It has a very central place. What's so special about Beit El? The plot kind of thickens, and the question becomes even stronger when we look at the role that Beit El plays. Because when you look at when the Avos come here, it seems to be that they come here when they're entering or leaving the land. So for example, and this is I think the most blatant example of this, we have the story of the Malachim, the angels going up and down the ladder in Yaakov's dream. And the way I always understood this, the Perush that I always connected with the most is that you have the Malachim of Eretz Yisrael, right? You have the angels of Eretz Yisrael, you have the Malachim of Chutz La'aretz, and it's the change of the guards. But wait a second. That all made a lot of sense to me before looking at a map and before being in Eretz Yisrael. But once you come here, you understand that Beit El is not on the border. If you told me he did that by Gilgal or before crossing the Yarden or something like that, fine, great, I understand it. But here, he's in the middle of the mountains. Even if you'd said maybe Shechem, which is the first place that the Avos meet when they come into the land, fine, I guess I can understand it. It's not their first step here, but it's the first city maybe that they meet. But Beit El isn't even the first one. Why would you have the change of the guards here? And you have this continuously with Avo, right? When they come in, it's not the first place that they meet Shechem, but then they come up to Beit El. When Avram Avinu, before he goes down to Mitzrayim, he comes to Beit El, and when he comes back from Mitzrayim, he comes back to Beit El. What's the connection? Perhaps Beit El is a safe place in the mountains, one of the first safer places that you can really reach. And so even though it's not a geographical entrance to the land, it seems like in a sense it's sort of a spiritual entrance to the land. It's also a place that has connections to different routes, to the east, to the west, to the north, and to the south, which can't be taken for granted because a lot of the places surrounding Beit El do not have it. Okay, there are places further north and further south along the mountains, but specifically in this area, it's actually pretty limited. And so it's a place where you're safe in the mountains in this area. Perhaps that has something to do with it. But I'd like to hear what you have to say. If you have any ideas of perhaps why Beit El could be considered a gateway into the land, even if geographically it's not exactly on the border, I'd love to hear what you have to say, so please let me know. Back to this idea of Beit El being a border in a moment, but first, I want to talk for a moment about what it has to do with Sefer Yehoshua. Because the second big battle that we have after Am Yisrael enters the land, and they fight by Yericho, and then they go to fight by Ha'ai. And of course, you've already read about and reviewed all the different issues that we had in that battle. But one of the big questions is, where is Ha'ai? Most academics would place Ha'ai by a place called Chirbat Atel. The problem is that they didn't really find their remains from the period when they think that Yehoshua came into the land. On the other hand, there's really nothing that points to that place as having to be Ha'ai from the Tanakh. It is close to Beit El, and Beit El and Ha'ai are often mentioned together. But here's the thing, looking out right now at Har Bal Chatzor, on the other side of Har Bal Chatzor is a tel called Chirbet Marjamet. Right on the other side of Har Bal Chatzor over there. And there, Rav Yoel Ben Nun thinks that that could perhaps be the place of Ha'ai. Even though it's not the closest in proximity, it does have a certain connection in the fact that Har Bal Chatzor is fascinating, because Avram Avinu is brought to 3 places in the mountains, and he's told to look out, and the land that he sees is going to be his, and he even brings a korban by Shem. And so we have Alon Moreh by Shechem, and it's the highest point in that area of the mountains. And we have Alonei Mamre by Hebron, is the highest point in the mountains of Hebron. Here by Beit El is the 3rd place, but Beit El is not the highest point. But if you look in the Psukim, it doesn't say in Beit El. It says between Beit El and Ha'ai. And if Chir Bet Majma is Ha'ai, then between Beit El and Ha'ai, you have Har Bal Chatzor, the highest point in the mountains in this area. So this could help back up that idea of Chir Bet Majma being Ha'ai. It's possible. I don't know for sure. But either way, Hashem brings Avram Avinu up to the highest points in each region, says, look out, as far as you can see, all of this will be yours and your descendants. And Baruch Hashem, we're back here today. But I want to get back to another point about Yehoshua. Moshe tells us already in the Torah that we have to, as soon as we come into the land, we have to do the tekes, the ceremony of the bracha and the klala and Har Grizim and Har Eval. And we find that again in Sefer Yehoshua, and we do it. But the thing is, why don't we do it right away? We have this mitzvah to do. Maybe you could say as soon as we crossed the Yarden, we didn't have a chance because we had to fight Yericho right away. Okay, I guess I'll take it. But then why then wait until after Ha'ai? So you could say perhaps it's because of the geography. Maybe it's easier to get to that area once we've already conquered Ha'ai. Doesn't really seem, because you could continue up the Jordan Valley and come into the mountain in that way. In Parshat Re'eh, in the way that it's described, you actually see in the Psukim that you can go through the Jordan Valley without having to conquer Ai. So why is the area of Ai conquered first? And perhaps this connects to the fact that Ai and Beit El are generally mentioned together. And if so, if there's a connection between them, perhaps it's only once this area of Ai and Beit El is conquered, only after that do they go and they do the ceremony, the tekes, by Har Grizim and Har Eval of Bracha and Klala. Why? Because at this point they've entered the land. Again, not physically, but perhaps in some spiritual sense, once they've reached Beit El, once they've conquered this area, that's when they've officially spiritually entered the land. And right after that, they go and they do the tekes, the ceremony, Har Grizim and Har Eval. I haven't seen this anywhere. I haven't seen this whole idea anywhere. But this is just a way of trying to connect between the different places where Beit El is mentioned and trying to understand what is it that makes this an entrance and what do they all have in common. So again, I'd love to hear what you have to think about it.